It's been a while since I've made one of these videos, and truth be told, a hell of a lot has happened both to me and my family over the last couple of months, and I'm going to tell you the full story, but not yet. First things first, I need to find somewhere to set up camp and then get a fire going. Then once I have a cold beer in my hand, well then we'll talk. But this place looks amazing. Let's go. Right, well this spot looks like an absolute treat. We're in a predominantly pine part of the forest, and I was just walking down the hill and I stumbled across this really big clearing that's about halfway down, and that's plenty big enough for me to pitch the Hyde Walker teepee tent. This is actually the hot tent that I used in the winter last year, but I'm not going to be using it as a hot tent today. It's mid-August, and yeah, I think a heater in the tent would be a little bit overkill. But this is a beautiful spot, and because it's mostly a pine forest, the pine continues down the hill, and so we're about halfway, and that gives you the kind of impression that you're almost like a treehouse vibe. You can see the treetops through the trees, which is really lovely. And if we're really lucky, maybe we'll even get eyes on some wildlife, maybe a deer or something strolling around later, or perhaps more likely first thing in the morning. Oh, what a treat. Tell you what, let's finish getting this tent set up, we'll get the fire going, and then I've got to bring you guys up to speed with all the goings on. Right. This little ball. Alright, I've got that tent pitched up and I've left it about an inch off of the ground, so that's going to allow some airflow and some circulation through there, because it is due to be hot all night according to the weather forecast, so famous last words. But Hank and I are both going to be in there, and so raising it up will just help with things like condensation and just hopefully keep that comfortable all night and through to the morning. But it's quick and easy. I love this thing. I should use this more often, and it looks the part. Alright, so my camp is just about set up. I've got the little twig stove out. I'm going to go find some firewood for that now. And I'm all good lighting that on here because I'm in a big open clearing which is mostly mud, and the ground is really rocky here as well. So the stove is actually a little bit raised up, and it's got a little stainless steel tray in the bottom to catch things. It doesn't burn directly on the ground. So as far as fire hazards go, I think we're good here. I'm pretty happy with that. But we're going to go find some fire. I'm going to try and find some dead standing hardwood if I can, because I'm going to try and cut my steak up small enough to cook on top of it. I've never tried this before, so this could go horribly wrong, but you know, some hardwood hopefully will burn down some coals hot enough to be able to cook the steak. But again, on top of a little twig stove, that it might be a bit optimistic, but today we're going to find out if that's possible. Looks like some old birchwood. Birchwood can rot really quickly, so if you can find some that's dead, dry but not rotten, you're in luck. Oh, that could be just what we need to cook the steak. It's not for you. No, that's not for you. That's for my steak. That's my steak. Okay, one. No, one. That's one. Alright, that birchwood's burning nicely now, and it's pretty dry, pretty old, been dead for a while. It's not spitting at all, which is exactly what I want, and it's a reasonably hard wood. So what I'm hoping to do is let these burn down into sort of fairly chunky coals for a twig stove, and hoping that they'll stay hot enough for long enough to cook these little tiny steaks that I bought from the supermarket. And they're already portioned up, just the perfect size for a twig stove. I didn't even know that until I opened the packet, so There's a little moment of serendipity, like it was meant to be. But I'm going to let those burn down. I'm going to put another load on, and then when they burn down, hopefully that will just give us a nice, really piping hot stove to cook the steak on. And then it's beer o'clock, and I'll bring you guys up to speed. Hank has just spotted some wildlife somewhere. Oh yes. There's a deer just over that hill. Oh, it's running. Hank! Oh, I just had the wrong lens on. I had the wide angle lens so I could talk to you guys. I've had the macro lens on like 90% of the time, and then Hank starts barking, and I look over the edge of the hill, and down by the stream there's a deer, massive great big deer, just drinking out of the water. But I think between Hank's barking and me running towards the edge of the hill, he's long gone. Last few bits now. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. That little twig stove, that's genius. Folds down, almost flat, takes up no room in your bag. I like it. Okay. It's about that time. Oh, I have missed this so much, and it's great just to have a day or two just escaping into the great outdoors, taking Hank with me off on another adventure. And I'd say this is turning out to be quite a successful first time back out camping adventure again. But I have been gone for a little while. A lot of people were asking what was going on, where have you been? And a bunch of stuff has happened. Life got intense for a moment, and for those of you who know, or some of you don't know, but long story short, my wife gave birth to our first child just over a year ago, and my son was incredibly impatient. He decided to arrive very, very prematurely, and his impatience nearly killed him in the process, and very nearly killed my wife too, and that was difficult. And ever since then, he has been in and out of hospital with, so many times. You know, right back when I was doing a kayaking adventure, it was the one where I lost my drone actually. The very next day, he ended up unconscious for reasons that nobody can seem to figure out still. He was blue lighted to hospital, and then, a couple of months ago, or a month ago now, I can't remember exactly, he was back in hospital again and had got some sort of blood infection and just scary stuff, you know. And as much as I love being out here, and I do love being out here, you know, when your wife needs you, when your son needs you, when they're not well, when they're in hospital. That's where I am. That's where I'll always be. So I love this. This is a lovely hobby, but it is a hobby. You know, your family is your family, right? So there's no question. So for those of you that wanted to know that, that's where I was. I was taking care of my family. And on top of that, out of the last 4 videos that I've made, I managed to cunningly lose or break 3 of my cameras. So that took the wind out of my sails a bit too. I managed to lose my drone. I managed to drown my Canon DSLR on my first river kayaking adventure, which was just that stung. And then a couple of weeks ago, I did actually manage to get out on a lobster free diving foraging video somewhere I'd never been before, and I had 2 GoPros, one above water on my dive float and one underwater where I was foraging, and I managed to catch the biggest lobster I think I've ever caught in my life. And then as I swam nearly a mile back to shore from the reef I was diving on, I got all the way back to the beach, and then I turned around and my GoPro with like all of my footage talking to the camera with the lobster and everything had vanished somewhere along the way, and that was absolutely devastating. And all my cameras were basically dead apart from one janky GoPro at that point, and I was like, oh, I just had to just take 5 and be like, do you know what? I'm not sure I haven't got the cameras or the enthusiasm to go right back out now. There was just a lot. And then thankfully my son got better. He bounced back. He seems to be going from strength to strength. My wife's happy again. And I managed to have a good look on Facebook Marketplace and find a couple of second-hand cameras, which this camera here that you're looking at me on now is 5 years old, and dare I say, this is actually an upgrade to the DSLR I had. This has actually got a really cool picture on it. Like, I'm looking in the little camera here going, this looks really good. Looks way better than in the low light than my other camera, which cost me a fortune. So silver linings and all that, but yeah, that's where I've been. But hopefully, if my son stays strong and keeps getting better, then there's a lot more adventures planned. My bag, I mentioned my bag. I love that bag. My wife bought that for me, and do you know what? I'll explain that more in the next video. But there's a story there, and it's a good one. I think you'll like it. But right now, I'm gonna enjoy the last of the sun as it starts to set, and it really feels like, it almost feels like a tree house because you're like looking out on the treetops. This is such a great spot. Such a great spot. Right, I'm going to top the fire up, warm myself up, and then it won't be long before we get ready for bed. You coming in? There's your bed. Alright, I don't know about you guys, but I am absolutely shattered. What an amazing first day back out into the woods, and Hank looks positively shattered as well, but we've got about half an hour, maybe 45 minutes left of light, and so I'm going to have a look a little down there in the valley, see hopefully if I can spot a bit more wildlife before I fall asleep. And Hank and I have only brought the small bag of us. We've got super minimal gear. I've got this inflatable that I'm lying on, and literally just a wool blanket, and then Hank's on the sheepskin. Now the weather report did say it was going to be warm all day and fairly warm during the night, so I'm going to be wearing the clothes that I've had on all day, and that's a thin little blanket. But this is the first time I've been without a sleeping bag, so I hope I haven't misjudged this, but we'll see. If I wake up in the middle of the night and my nose is blue, you'll know I got it wrong, but only time will tell. So I'll see you guys in the morning, see how it goes. Good morning. Right, well, despite the weatherman's assertions, it did get a bit chilly last night, and not the end of the world, like I got through it, but I think a couple of tweaks. I think I'm going to go back to the sleeping bag, maybe strap that onto the top of my little bag, 'cause I don't really have any more space in there. So if we lose the blanket and put the sleeping bag in and maybe some long trousers, I think that would have been enough. Other than that, I was good. But what a morning. Still a bit chilly, but nothing a nice coffee can't sort out. Let's get the twig fire on the go. Oh, piping hot black coffee and the remnants of a little twig fire. Exactly what I needed just to warm the cockles after a slightly frigid night's sleep last night. But other than that, this was 9 out of 10. Awesome little camping trip. Really, really cool. And this ultralight backpack setup has really actually inspired me for the rest of the summer. I think we'll trade out the blanket for perhaps a sleeping bag, so it won't really add a great deal more weight-wise. But other than that, I think we're good. Feels good to be back. Oh, my mind's racing now of all the different places that I want to take this kit and go and explore. So many amazing places, but one step at a time, eh? Let's make sure the little man and the wife are all good, and then hopefully, if they are, I'll see you guys again next week or the week after. Who knows? But if you like this kind of trip and you haven't done so already, maybe think about hitting the subscribe button. And if you're already a subscriber or you've sat through to this point here, I just want to say thanks for hanging out. I know on YouTube and the interwebs you've got like a million choices you could click on, and you decided to click on my ugly mug instead, so I appreciate that. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed yourself. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.